At the beginning of the drama, we see Jia Shang, who is the director of the Li Group, a very large cosmetics company in Asia. After joining the company, he has fired many employees. Jia Shang is attending a meeting where he terminates the contract of another company, Fame Show. After they request him a lot, he gives them one more chance. In the next scene, we see Jia Shang at his house. He was hungry, so he goes to a convenience store and starts eating noodles. Just then, he sees a girl sitting on the next bench, wearing a red hoodie. The girl removes her cap and starts talking to someone on the phone. When Jia Shang sees her face, he is shocked and just keeps staring at her. Then, he remembers a scene from the past where that girl was with him, and he was kissing her. The girl leaves from there and he comes home and asks his friend Zheng, "Is it possible that two people can look exactly alike?" Zheng says, "Yes, it's absolutely possible. There are many people who look alike." Jia Shang says, "Maybe, I saw her today." Zheng comes and sits next to him and says, "Look, you have to forget her now. She is dead." The next day, Jia Shang comes to a company and is looking very intently at the paintings displayed there. Just then, the same girl he saw at the convenience store last night approaches him. The girl says to him, "Sir, the painting you are looking at, I made it. Would you like to say something about it?" Jia Shang asks, "What is your name?" She tells him, "My name is Miss Gao." When she starts to leave, Jia Shang stops her and asks, "Are you free this evening?" The girl replies, "I am very busy today," but she writes her number on a card and gives it to him. The next day, Jia Shang asks Zheng to find out about the girl, so he tells him. Besides her name and work, nothing else has been found. Jia Shang calls the number written on the card, but the call comes to Zheng's phone. When he looks at the number, he says, "Hey, this is my girlfriend's number. Are you looking for her?" Then they both go to meet Zheng, his girlfriend, and ask about the number. Zheng's girlfriend explains, "I have two numbers, so I gave one to my friend. She just came back from abroad." Jia Shang gets the girl's phone number from her, and the next day they meet at a restaurant. Miss Gao tells Jia Shang, "The painting you saw has been delivered to you." In return for the painting, Jia Shang gives her a beautiful necklace. It was quite expensive, so Miss Gao refuses to take it, but on Jia Shang's insistence, she takes the necklace. A couple is celebrating their birthday there. They light a candle, which accidentally falls. Seeing the fire, Jia Shang again remembers a scene from the past in which a girl named Mu Xiao was trapped inside a burning house. Jia Shang was trying to save her. Then the boy comes and picks up the candle, and Jia Shang comes out of his past. The next day, there is a meeting where the most senior member of the Li company, Jia Shang's grandfather, is also present. First, Fame Show explains their proposal. Their proposal is so good that after seeing it, Jia Shang just closes his laptop. Everyone really likes their proposal, and when Jia Shang's grandfather asks about his proposal, he says, "My proposal is not ready yet," and he asks the girl, "Is that proposal yours?" She says, "No, this proposal was made by our creative director." Just then, a lady enters and says, "I am Suyi, the creative director of Fame Show." She was the same girl Jia Shang had met several times, and she had told him her name was Gao. Jia Shang is quite hurt to see that she lied to him. Then Suyi is made the chief inspector of their company. After the meeting, as Jia Shang is leaving, Suyi comes to meet him and says, "In the last 2 months, our company has given very good projects, but you did not approve them. The careers of my employees and I were at stake. That's why I told all these lies." After saying this, she returns the necklace he gave her and leaves. The next day, Zheng brings some information about Suyi to Jia Shang. Jia Shang looks at it and says, "Impossible. How can someone look so much alike?" Just then, Suyi arrives there. They needed to find a good place for their show's exhibition. Suyi tells Jia Shang about many places, but he doesn't like any of them. In the evening, Suyi messages him about a new place. The next day, they go to see that place. This time, Jia Shang also likes the place. He says, "You know, it's also very important to take care of the models." Then Suyi starts to leave to book the place. She had a cut on her foot because of her sandals. She was about to take out a bandage and apply it, but Jia Shang takes the bandage from her hand and sits down to apply it on her foot himself, and says, "You worked so hard to find this place, so I can at least do this much." Then the day of the collaboration between Li Group and Fame Show arrives. Many models have come there. Just then, Zheng's eyes fall on a beautiful girl, and he just keeps staring at her. All the models are getting ready when Suyi finds out that their male model cannot come today. So she calls a boy and invites him there, who is quite handsome. Then the show starts, and one by one, all the models come on stage. In the middle of the show, Zheng again sees the same girl who was sitting in the seat behind him. He says to her, "Such a beautiful girl is all alone. If possible, could you give me your phone number?" She replies to Zheng, "You already have a girlfriend who is quite fat. Is that why you've come to a fashion show to see thin girls?" The show was going quite well, for which everyone was praising Suyi. Just then, a girl who was very jealous of Sui comes to her, and she spills a cold drink on her dress, ruining it. But the dress Sui was wearing was quite long, so she cuts the part where the cold drink was spilled into a shape. But now the dress had become quite short. When she comes out wearing it, Jia Shang is looking at her strangely and puts his coat on her lap. So Sui says, "What are you doing? What will people think if they see this?" After the show ends, reporters come to ask questions about the success of the show. Right there, Jia Shang gives the credit for the show to their vice president, who was standing next to him. And then he also announces his retirement, which shocks him as well because he didn't want to retire yet. After everyone leaves, Sui comes to meet him and asks, "Did you like the fashion show?" Jia Shang says, "Yes, so much that I didn't even expect it." Then Jia Shang takes out the same necklace from his pocket and says, "If I give something, there's no need to return it." And he puts the necklace around her neck, and a reporter clicks their picture like this. And the next day, these photos spread everywhere on social media. Everyone was talking about these two. When Sui comes to her company, many reporters chase after her and start asking questions like, "Are you dating Jia Shang? Or are you having an affair?" In the midst of this, Sui's foot gets stuck, and she falls. In the next scene, we see her in the hospital, where Xiang is treating her. When Jia Shang finds out about her, he immediately comes to the hospital. Just then, Xiang brings watermelon for Sui, and Zhenghe starts eating it. Xiang says to him, "Eat, eat, all you know is how to eat." Then they both leave from there. Jia Shang starts talking to her, but then a cameraman is about to click their pictures, but Sui sees him and stands in front of him, because of which he is unable to take the photo. Then we see Jia Shang and Zhenghe boxing. Jia Shang was trying to find out if Sui is indeed Mu Xiao. Here, Sui is having dinner at her home with Xiying and her brother. Now, they were also having a lot of fun together. Seeing them, Sui thinks, "I lost all my memory in childhood. But ever since I met these two, I am not afraid to face anything in life." Then Sui shows Xiang a magazine in which a car accident was written about. Xiang says, "What could this missing car case be about?" Sui says, "It clearly states that the upcoming magazine will have a contribution about it. But the next time the magazine was released, its entire layout was changed. This must be the work of the Li family." Xiang says, "I will go to the Li Research Institute. Maybe I'll find some information there." The next day, Sui comes to a pet clinic and is taking care of a cat. Just then, Jia Shang also arrives there, so she asks him, "What are you doing here?" Jia Shang explains, "I am an investor in this clinic." Then he takes care of a dog there. The next day, Director Zhu comes to the Fame Company, who is giving gifts to everyone. He takes Sui to his office room to give her a gift as well. There he asks her, "Your resume is so good, then why did you decide to come back to China?" Sui shows them a photo of Fame Show and says, "Because of this," and says, "After the accident, I lost my memory. My father's friend took me to Japan for my treatment. There someone sent me this magazine cover. Was that you?" Zhu immediately says, "No, but it doesn't matter anymore." Sui says, "What happened that year? Why didn't they continue their report? Was the stolen money ever found? So many interviews show that my dad was a very good person." Director Zhu says, "But I found no proof of your father's goodness." Then he calms down and says, "Some things are not so easily understood, so you should let go of all this. You can't even imagine how dangerous your enemy is." Just then, Sui's head suddenly starts to hurt. She remembers a scene from her lost memory, and she faints. A little later, when she regains consciousness, she gets a call from Jia Shang. He asks her to come to the Li group. She was not feeling well, so everyone advises her against it, but Sui decides to go there. When she goes to the Li group, she finds a boy standing near the door who was telling a girl, "As soon as Jia Shang comes out, you have to go to him. Make physical contact with him so that I can click pictures of you two." Sui, standing right there, overhears all this and comes to him and says, "I will tell Jia Shang about this. But if you do one thing for me, I won't." To which the boy agrees. That photographer calls some more boys there. Sui tells them about her plan. "As soon as Jia Shang comes out, you guys have to attack him, but no one will actually hit him. Just pretend to hit him and then I will come and save him. And this scene will be complete." But the boys refuse to do so and get angry at her words and start hitting her instead. But just then, Jia Shang comes and saves Sui. The scene turns out to be the opposite of what Sui had imagined. He tells Sui to leave from there. Jia Shang and those boys start fighting with each other. Sui comes to the photographer and asks, "Who are these people?" So he tells her, "The people I had called went somewhere else, and these who have come are real goons." Hearing this, Sui quickly goes to Jia Shang. He was quite injured. Just then, while trying to save Sui, Jia Shang gets hurt on his back. Then the police arrive, and the goons run away from there. Going home, Sui applies medicine to Jia Shang's wound. Then Jia Shang leaves from there. Suyi sees a box kept there, inside which were her childhood photos. She was Mu Xiao. Then she comes home and asks Ziyang what could have been the relationship between Mu Xiao and Jia Shang. So Ziyang says, maybe he was your past love, whom you don't remember. Suyi says, don't joke around. Suyi says, until I find out who caused my father's accident, I will have to hide the fact that I am Mu Xiao. Xiang says, if Jia Shang knows Mu Xiao, then he must also know the things that you have forgotten. Suyi says, then we have to be careful. Then Suyi comes to the same photographer boy, Ding Han, and tells him, help me find the old issue of Fame show from September 2nd, 2014. The next day, she meets Jia Shang at college. She had come here to interview him. Jia Shang looks at her questions and says, if you ask such boring questions, you will never get my answer. Then Suyi says to him, shall I ask about your college life? Did you ever fall in love? Jia Shang says, I quite liked my biology professor. One thing I really liked about her, she used to say, happiness is always found in spending leisure time. If there is stillness within, to watch a falling leaf, to see the cold winds blowing just like this moment. Until we are busy, leisure time has no value. Then he starts to leave. Just then, Suyi's ankle twists, and she is about to fall, but Jia Shang catches her. Then, they both go for lunch together, where Suyi asks him, how many relationships did you have? Jia Shang explains, my mom and dad died in my childhood, so I never got a chance to know their expectations, and I had only one relationship, and I want her to come back now. After talking for a little while longer, they return to their homes. The next day, Suyi is searching for something in that room of the Lee group where all the important files of the Lee group were kept. Just then, Lee arrives there and asks her, what are you doing here? Suyi says, I just came here casually. Jia Shang says, you have come here 3 times before. I can also call the police here for spying in the company's secret room. Then Suyi comes to her home and says to Xiang, for more information, I will have to take Jia Shang's fingerprints. So Xiang says, this is very easy. Pick up a weapon and cut his finger and then take the fingerprint. So Suyi says, besides shedding someone's blood, do you have any easier idea? Just then, Xiang gives her a glass of juice to drink. While drinking the juice, Suyi gets an idea. I can take Jia Shang's fingerprint on a glass just like this. Then they both go to attend Zheng He's party, where Suyi and Xiang together make many plans and try to get Jia Shang drunk and take his fingerprints on a glass. But he doesn't drink, and their plan is not successful. Then, Jia Shang is going to drop Suyi home. She was very worried about Xiang because she was drunk and Zheng He had taken her home. Seeing her worried, Jia Shang says, don't worry, Zheng He is very responsible. He won't do anything wrong. The next day, Jia Shang is in the office with Zheng He and asks him, did you find out anything about Suyi's background? But he is not listening to him, so Jia Shang throws a ball at him. To this, Zheng He says, don't you feel any guilt at all after hitting me? How can there be so many wild people in the world? Then Zheng He leaves from there, saying, I won't be able to come for dinner in the evening. I have an appointment. After he leaves, Jia Shang takes out a photo in which he and Mu Xiao were there. It was their childhood photo. The next day, Jia Shang and Zheng He are sitting and talking together. Zheng He says, if you have a stomachache, should I apply some medicine? Jia Shang says, what has happened to you? To this, Zheng He says, nothing has happened, I am just behaving well. Jia Shang asks, the work I asked you to do, is it done? Zheng He replies, what I am about to say might shock you, so you have to stay strong, because Suyi is not Mu Xiao. Hearing this, Jia Shang gets very upset and says, you can leave from here. I need to be alone for a while. He leaves from there. At night, Suyi comes to Jia Shang's house to get another project signed. After getting the signature, she tells Jia Shang, why don't we have a drink together in celebration of the new project? So Jia Shang says, I haven't even eaten anything yet. It's not good to drink on an empty stomach. Suyi says, I will cook and bring it for you. She goes to the kitchen and turns on the gas, but the gas doesn't turn on, nor can she find any ingredients. Just then, Jia Shang comes there and says, I don't eat noodles and I don't use gas. You go from here, I will cook. Then after a while, he prepares a nice dish and gives it to Suyi to taste. Suyi says, you cook very well. Jia Shang explains, I live alone, so I thought I should learn to make some recipes. Suyi says, if you are alone, then hire someone to cook. Jia Shang says, I don't like anyone coming into my house. Then he tells her about Mu Xiao. She was the only girl to whom I gave a place in my heart. After her car accident, I have managed myself thinking that I will continue my search for her through the Lee group. If you have had any problem, I apologize for that. Suyi asks, how long will you wait for her? Jia Shang explains, I can wait for her my whole life. Then as soon as he gets up from there, his hand hits a wine glass. and it falls and breaks. When Jia Shang starts to pick up the pieces of the glass, he gets a cut on his hand, and it starts bleeding. So Sui bandages his finger. Then she also applies medicine to the injury on his back, and she is looking very intently into his eyes. Just then, Jia Shang pulls her close to him and kisses her on the lips. In the morning, Sui comes home and tells Xiang, "I got Jia Shang's fingerprint." Xiang says, "When you got his fingerprint, why didn't you come home? Why were you there all night?" At this, Sui starts blushing and tells her, "Last night, after seeing his love for Mu Xiao, I started to like him." Xiang says, "This means he was not involved in your accident, but we still need to find out the truth." The next day, Sui comes to the office again and enters the secret room there using Jia Shang's fingerprint and starts searching for something in the files kept there. There she finds some important files and photos in a box. She takes pictures of them on her phone and comes out. Sui has come to the hospital for some work when Jia Shang calls and asks her to meet him. After some time, she reaches his house and says, "From next time, if there is any work, call only during work hours." Jia Shang says, "Last time you came here, you left your earring behind. You wait, I'll bring it." And he leaves from there. After he leaves, the lights there go off. Sui turns on her phone's flashlight and starts searching for him in the house. Just then, on a table, she finds her earrings and a photo of her and Jia Shang together. That photo was from a long time ago. Then she comes to Jia Shang and he puts her earrings on her and says, "Today is my birthday." They both celebrate his birthday together. The next day, Jia Shang and Sui meet at a domestic pet center. A game was going to be held there. Jia Shang had donated 100,000 yuan there and said, "If I win this game, I will double this donation." At this, Sui says, "You are very strange. You used money to win." At this, he says, "Spending money is a talent in itself. You shouldn't judge me." Then the game starts, and first, Xiang and Zheng Hui complete the game, but the second time, they both fall. Just then, he sees Jia Shang and Sui. They both had also fallen. Seeing this, he says to Xiang, "Jia Shang is even worse than me." After finishing the game, Jia Shang and Sui are sitting and talking together. Jia Shang is talking about Mu Xiao. He says, "Once in college, a girl proposed to me, but I was scared that Mu Xiao might get angry. So I took the mic and said in front of everyone, I am already married to Sui, so leave me alone. And now, when I think about it, I feel that it was good that the girl proposed to me. Otherwise, I would never have understood how much I love Mu Xiao." At this, Sui says, "When we love someone, we should also think about the other person. And if you truly loved her, she would never have left you." Then she leaves from there and starts researching Lee Group's best celebrity skincare products. The next day, a new girl named Luo Mani comes to the Lee Group. She is the personal in charge of the Lee Group and calls herself Jia Shang's fiancé. At this, Sui is a little surprised. Then, all the male models were going to have a photo shoot, but Luo Mani didn't like any of the male models, so Sui says, "Why don't we do a photo shoot of Jia Shang instead of the models?" At this, they both agree. Jia Shang and Luo Mani's photo shoot is done together. Then Sui comes home, and her brother talks about becoming a model for the Lee Group. Sui does not agree to this and says, "If you become a model, what will happen to your studies?" The next day, when Sui reaches the Lee Group, she sees Luo Mani and Jia Shang together. She doesn't feel good seeing them and leaves from there feeling jealous. Jia Shang also goes after her. Sui had come to a hotel. There, she had beaten up a boy. Seeing her, Jia Shang says, "Why do you always trouble the people around you?" Sui leaves from there without saying anything. Seeing this, Jia Shang says to Zheng He, "I thought I would trouble her, but now I am the one who is troubled." Then they both also come home. Zheng He is doing something on his phone, so Jia Shang says, "Why are you messaging her from my phone?" Zheng He says, "What do you know? I am looking for a wife for you." Jia Shang says, "I know she will never come and tell me herself." Zheng He says, "If she won't say it, will you also not say it? Is there a competition of staying silent between you two? Are you going to become the king of some country by winning this?" Hearing this, Jia Shang says, "Will you please stop joking?" Zheng He says, "I am not joking. I am helping you." Jia Shang says, "You have been messaging her for so long, but she hasn't even replied yet." Then he picks up his phone to call Sui, but they were both quite drunk. So he takes his phone and goes to sleep. Here, Sui was doing her work on the computer. After finishing her work, she checks her phone and finds messages from Jia Shang, but she doesn't reply to him. Jiang was still in the hospital when Zheng He brings spicy prawns for her. Jiang says to him, "Besides flirting with girls, do you have any other work?" Zheng He says, "You think so because you misunderstand me, but there is no harm in thinking like that." Jiang says, "You can't understand me because you haven't seen family trauma. You have not always been alone." Zheng He says, "Don't make family an issue for your problems. Who hasn't had family trauma? You are grown up, yet you are weak. Your parents hurt you, so what? Your friends are with you. I am with you. Hearing this, Xiang gets very emotional and starts crying. Zheng He was about to say something to quiet her down, but she kisses him. The next day, Xiang and Suyi are sitting together. Just then, Suyi gets a call from someone. Then she tells Xiang, I have found a photo of the person who made my father's fake autopsy report. When Xiang sees the photo, she says, I recognize them. They are Zheng, his father. Then Suyi comes to see the pets. She is bathing a dog there when Jia Shang comes to her and asks, Are you angry with me? And then he tries to tell her about Luomani, that she is not his fiancée, but his sister. But before he can speak, Suyi says, I know everything. Jia Shang asks, When did you find out? Suyi says, I found out when she came. Jia Shang says, So you were just pretending to be jealous all this time? Suyi says, Yes. How was my acting? It was much better than both of you. Then she starts splashing water on Jia Shang with a pipe. Then Suyi goes to meet that photographer. She had received some information about her father's accident, and according to the information, Jia Shang was involved in Suyi's father's accident. This hurts Suyi a lot. Then Jia Shang calls her to meet him, but she was very serious and tells him, For a few days we should stay away from each other, and leaves from there. The next day, an annual reception party is held in the group, where many people have come. Jia Shang and Luomani's photo shoot is happening there. Luomani was not able to walk properly because of her shoes and was holding Jia Shang tightly. At this, he says to her, Didn't you have any other shoes to wear? Luomani says, Can't you even handle me for a little while? You are so selfish. Jia Shang says, Go to hell. So Luomani says, Yes, and you too. Just then, Xiang and Suyi also arrive there. They had come on behalf of Fame Show. After the party ends, Suyi comes to the office. Just then, Jia Shang comes to meet her. After he leaves, Xiang asks her, Are you two going to live together again? Suyi says, Yes, but I don't want to tell anyone right now. Jia Shang is sitting and reading a book when Zheng He brings lunch for him and says, You manage your time very well. You have a meeting at 1 o'clock, but still, you will go on a date during your break time and have lunch without me. Just then, Zheng He sees some love books kept there. He reads a little and puts them back, and says, Why are you reading all these useless books, brother? Jia Shang says, I want to win Suyi back. Zheng He says, You two are already in a relationship. Then why are you doing all this? Jia Shang replies, Someone as naive as you won't understand all this. Then Xiang and Suyi come to meet Zheng He's father. Just then, Jia Shang suddenly arrives there and takes Suyi with him and leaves. Suyi asks him, How did you suddenly come here? Then we are shown a flashback scene where Jia Shang was outside when he received a message that Suyi and director Zhang should not meet, and that's why he had come here. But he lies to her that he has come to the hospital for his checkup. Then he says to Suyi, If you have any truth, you can tell me. She says, I will tell you when the time comes. Then broadcaster Jin comes to the Lee Group for a broadcast. Suyi and Jin were talking about the upcoming new product of the Lee Group. Suyi was about to show the product on the screen when her own photo is shown there, in which a scar was made on her face, which Suyi often used to hide. Suyi is very shocked to see it, and as soon as Jia Shang sees it, he immediately gets the lights and camera turned off and asks to find out who did this. Then he gives a 20% discount on his company's products, and also posts some new news so that people's attention does not go to this thing. Suyi is thinking about that photo when she remembers that a girl from her company has seen her scar. Then she goes to her and checks all the photos on her phone, but there is no photo of Suyi on her phone. Then Jia Shang comes to their company and asks Suyi to go with him, but she refuses to go with him because Suyi did not want to involve Jia Shang in her controversy. She leaves from there alone and comes home and cries thinking about her scar. Jia Shang comes to meet her, but she doesn't open the door. Xiang comes to meet Zheng He and tells him about Suyi's scar. So he says, It's just a scar. What's the big deal in that? Jiang says, It's not just a scar. It's a scar that changed her life. Because of it, she learned to do makeup and became a campus player. Then she got a lot of letters, but she didn't even look at them because she thinks that people like her because she is beautiful. Zheng He says, But why does she think like that? She has brains along with beauty. Xiang says, Suyi thinks that to get love, it is necessary to be beautiful. Zheng He says, No, it's not like that. If you have a scar, I will also get a similar scar on my face. Then we will be called the scar couple. Here, Suyi had not opened the door, so Jia Shang was sitting near the door. And on the other side, Suyi was sitting and crying. She says, After coming here, I made my beauty my weapon, and today, because of it, I have also lost. You always ask me, am I Mu Xiao or not? I am and I am not. I don't even have Mu Xiao's memory nor her full face, but I don't want to hide this from you. After 5 minutes, I will open the door. It's your choice to stay or leave. A little later, Suyi opens the door, but Jia Shang is not there anymore. Seeing this, she starts to leave. But just then, he comes and hugs her. Suyi asks him, Don't you have any problem with my face? Jia Shang says, You always put yourself under pressure by thinking about useless things. I don't like all this. When we love each other, we should also share our sorrow. Love is the union of two souls, not two bodies. Always remember this. He is about to kiss Sui when Zheng He and Xiang arrive there. Zheng He asks them, "Will you guys go on a double dinner date with us?" Jia Shang says, "No, we will have dinner at home today." Then he takes Sui to his home. After dinner, they both are sitting and watching a movie. Jia Shang says to her, "For now, you can leave Fame Show if you want." Sui says, "No, I have to get used to it. I can't always hide it." Jia Shang asks, "You don't care about other people?" Sui says, "I only care about you. I will ignore other people." Then Jia Shang kisses her. In the morning, Sui is going to the company when she starts checking her phone in her bag, and just then a car comes in front of her. She is about to have an accident when Jia Shang pushes her aside. Then Sui comes to the company, and Jia Shang arranges for 2 bodyguards for her protection. When Jia Shang comes to his company, his grandfather tells him, "Because of Sui, people are boycotting our beauty products. Fire her from the company now." But Jia Shang does not agree. The next day, when Sui comes to Fame Show, many reporters start asking her questions. Sui just tells them that she is now going to resign from her post. Then she goes inside and meets Director Ju and asks him to sign her resignation letter. He asks, "What is your plan after resigning from here?" Sui says, "I will investigate the clues he left behind." At this, Director Ju says, "After exposing yourself without makeup, people must have recognized Mu Xiao. So now you have to be very careful." Sui says, "I will take care of myself," and then leaves from there. Then Jia Shang comes to meet her and says, "Why did you resign? Li Group is very strong. You shouldn't have sacrificed yourself for it." Just then, Xiang comes there and says to Jia Shang, "Your grandfather forced her, and you are acting nice here." Then we are shown a flashback scene where Grandpa had called Sui to the office and asked her to resign. For this, Jia Shang says sorry to her. Then they both spend time together at the beach, and then Jia Shang drops her at her house. Then the day of the launch of the new project comes in the Li Group. Many people have come there. Sui shows her scar in front of everyone. Everyone likes her attitude that she accepted her truth in front of everyone. Jia Shang also tells everyone there that they are together, and then takes Sui away from there. But after seeing this news, Grandpa has a heart attack. Zheng He comes and tells Jia Shang about this, and they both run to the hospital. But Grandpa refuses to meet Jia Shang. Sui asks, "Is all this happening because of me?" To this he says, "No, it's not like that, don't worry too much." Grandpa's health improves. The next day, Sui joins the Li Group. Jia Shang gives her a car, and they both are going somewhere in that car. Sui is driving. Just then, the car's brake is not working, and they narrowly escape an accident. Jia Shang was slightly injured. Then they both come to a restaurant for lunch. There, Jia Shang says to her, "You came to China for this reason, didn't you? So that you could find out if your dad is corrupt or not. If someone had framed him, he must have left some clue in their account. But don't worry, I am with you." At this, Sui smiles a little. Then Sui comes to meet Gao Mu, because he had recognized Mu Xiao. Gao Mu says to Sui, "I know why you came back to China." Then he tells her, he is Jia Shang's uncle, but he was the stepson of that house, and the personal in charge of the Li Institute. But those people never accepted him. You don't know, the Li family is very dangerous. Not only you and your dad were their victims. Gao Mu tells that Sui's parents and he were very good friends. Sui asks, "How did you know that I am alive?" Gao Mu explains, "I knew it when Zheng He's dad made a fake autopsy report." He also shows Sui his video. Then Sui comes from there and tells Xiang about this, and says to her, "We have to hide all this from Zheng He, because his father is involved in this." But Jia Shang gets to know that Sui is investigating Zheng He's dad. This means they have some big evidence, but what are they trying to hide? The next day, Jia Shang comes to Sui's house to meet her, and gives her her father's financial report. After seeing the report, Sui thinks that her dad was not at fault. Then who were the people who hurt them? Sui says, "If I hadn't lost my memory, I would have known what happened in the car accident." And she gets very emotional. At this, Jia Shang hugs her and says, "Don't worry, I want to take you somewhere. Maybe you will remember something after going there." Then he brings her to the place where they had come for their first date. While returning from there, Sui asks him, "If I had not returned from Japan, what would you have done?" Jia Shang says, "I would have been very sad. I would have worked like a machine every day and never loved anyone." Then they both stop there and eat ice cream and enjoy a lot. Just then, Sui gets a call from Ding Han and gives some information about her dad's autopsy report. After this, she becomes very serious, and then she goes to another place where she vaguely remembers a scene from her past. But then her head starts to hurt a lot, so Jia Shang takes her home. The next day, Sui comes to meet Ding Han. Just then, she meets Jia Shang there. Sui says to him, "You can secure your family, but please let me do my work." Jia Shang says, "Why didn't you tell me that you had found the autopsy report? I believe in you, then why don't you believe in me? Did you come to the Lee group just so you could use me?" At this, Sui gets angry with him and leaves from there. Then Jia Shang comes to meet Gao Mu. He asks, "What was the need for you to come here?" Jia Shang says to him, "I just want to say that the people around me should not get hurt because of you." Then he goes home and has lunch with Zheng He. Zheng He is talking to Xiang. After talking to her, he says to Jia Shang, "Do you know what love is? When two people live and die together." Jia Shang is not saying anything and is staring at him. At this, he says, "You know, your humor is more dangerous than my Xiang's cuteness." At this, Jia Shang says to him, "If you have finished your lunch, then leave from here." Zheng He says, "Haven't you two finished your fight yet? At least let me play on the waves of love." At this, Jia Shang says, "Okay, if Xiang does something behind your back and doesn't tell you, how would you feel?" Zheng He says, "You don't trust her because she doesn't tell you anything. And she doesn't trust you because you keep an eye on her." Jia Shang says, "I just want to protect her." Zheng He says, "Maybe she also wants to protect you by hiding the real and fake autopsy reports from you." Then the next day, Zheng He comes to meet Ziyang. He had brought flowers and chocolates for her. Then, he gives her a ring and says, "I know this is a bit early, but I am not saying this in the heat of the moment. At first, I was crazy about your looks, but then I fell in love with you. Your arrival has brought life to my lifeless life. The first time I saw you, I thought that when I propose to you, you will have an expression, and I always want to keep you happy. And would you like to spend your whole life with me?" At this, Ziyang asks, "What expressions do you see on my face right now?" So Zheng He says, "How did I fall into this madman's trap? I see those expressions." Xiang says, "You should have knelt down, shouldn't you?" Hearing this, he kneels down, and just then his dad comes there and says, "Who proposes by kneeling like this?" He goes a little further and then turns back again. At this, Zheng He says, "Hey, you are still here. Why didn't you leave?" His dad says, "Have Friday dinner at home and bring your girlfriend too." Then he leaves. Zheng He asks her, "My future wife, will you go to dinner on Friday?" At this, Xiang says yes, and Zheng He puts the ring on her finger. Then he kisses her. The next day, when Sui and Jia Shang come to meet them at a restaurant, Xiang was telling Zheng He that she wanted to break up. They both are surprised to hear this and say, "Everything was going fine between you two. Then, why are you suddenly breaking up?" Jia Shang says, "I think there has been some misunderstanding between you two. Talk and things will be fine." Xiang says, "Then why don't you two talk and fix everything?" So they both say together to focus on their relationship. Xiang explains, "Zheng He is dating another girl behind my back." Zheng He says, "No, it's not like that. That girl has been bothering me for a long time. I had uploaded our pictures, so she must have gotten jealous. And she came to you to provoke you." Xiang says, "If you are lying, you won't have children." Zheng He says, "If you doubt me, then talk to me, hit me, but never leave me so easily." Then Zheng He sits next to her and convinces her nicely, and their misunderstanding is cleared up. Seeing this, Suyi and Jia Shang also feel very good. Then they both also sit and talk together. Suyi asks him, "Why do you keep an eye on me?" Jia Shang explains, "The day you had an accident outside Fame Show, since then I felt that someone wants to harm you. That's why I was keeping an eye on you." Then Jia Shang asked her, "Why did you meet Gao Mu?" Suyi says, "I feel like he knows something, and until I get that information, I will not back down." Jia Shang comes to her and says, "I know you have handled everything alone all these years, but now you are not alone. Remember this." Then Jia Shang and Suyi go together to meet Ding Han. After getting some information from him, Suai leaves from there. Just then, Jia Shang's grandpa calls him to meet. When Suai comes there, he gives her a letter and a card, in which there was a lot of money, and says to Suyi, "You leave from here." At this, Suyi also agrees. Then she comes home and talks to Xiang about this. They think that she is a naive girl who will just leave from here after taking money, and Suyi thinks that he is definitely hiding something. Then Suyi secretly comes to the room where the components of the secret products were kept. She clicks a picture of a file kept there on her phone and leaves from there. Then Gao Mu sends her a voice recording, which was of her dad, in which he was warning Gao Mu that his life was in danger, and just then, he had an accident. From this, Suyi gets to know that his death was not due to an accident. Hearing that, Suyi starts crying. Then Zheng He and Xiang give a party for their engagement, in which they all enjoy a lot. After the party, Xiang and Zheng He sit and discuss where they will go for their honeymoon. Then Suyi tells Jia Shang about the recording, and also tells that Gao Mu has asked for Lee Group's secret formulas in exchange for that recording. Jia Shang thinks, why would Gao Mu want something like that? Then Suyi comes to Jia Shang's house with him. His painting was hanging there. Suyi asks him, "When you look at this painting, how do you feel?" Jia Shang comes a little closer to her and says, "I see desires in it." Suyi says, "But I see hope in it." By then, Jia Shang kisses her. In the morning, Suyi comes to him with a shirt and says, "Is this t-shirt yours?" Jia Shang says, "Why? Can't I have a t-shirt like this?" Sui says, "That's right, boys don't grow up in age." Just then, Jia Shang lifts her up in his arms and sits her on a chair and says, "I have been dreaming for a long time, especially since you came to me." Sui asks, "So what is that dream?" Jia Shang says, "I want to do something with you." Sui looks at him very intently, and after a while they are both cooking together. Sui says, "Oh, so you wanted to do all this?" Jia Shang says, "Yes, I used to do this alone before, but now you're also with me to do all this." Then they both sit and have breakfast together. Then Sui comes to meet Zheng, He's dad. Zheng He's dad says to her, "What you told me about the accident and the report, I don't know anything about all that, so don't ask me about it again." After saying this, he leaves from there. Then Jia Shang comes to pick her up there and says, "It's become very difficult." Sui asks, "What happened?" He says, "I can't tell you how bad I feel when you go away even for a minute." Sui says, "I am seeing. You are also gradually becoming a drama queen, like Zheng He." Jia Shang says, "Now where did he come from between us? Whatever I am, it's only because of you." Then we see Zheng He's dad, who commits suicide by jumping from a building. Zheng He tries to find out why his dad committed suicide. He is very sad and goes and lies down quietly. He was not saying anything. The next day, Jia Shang comes to meet him. Zheng He says to him, "Now I don't even have a dad. Everything happened so fast that I didn't even realize anything. I should have spent a little more time with him. At least I should have replied to his text, but I couldn't do anything." Saying this, he starts crying. Jia Shang is comforting him. Just then, Xiang comes to him and comforts him. The next day, Zheng He comes to the Li group to meet Jia Shang and tells him his dad's last message was sent to Sui, and it was so good that I can't understand when they became so close. Is there something new that no one knows about? At this, Jia Shang says, "That day, Sui and I went to meet your father. I had a talk with him regarding some work on the project. Sui was also with me." Zheng He asks again, "Are you hiding something from me?" At this, Jia Shang replies, "No." Zheng He says, "I believe you," and he leaves from there. Just then, Jia Shang gets a call from Sui. She says, "The things we have hidden from Zheng He, I regret them." Jia Shang says, "Don't think too much. I will tell him everything at the right time." The next day, when Jia Shang reaches the Li group, he finds out that their product's formula has been leaked. Everyone was very worried. Then Luomani comes there and handles the situation. She says, "If we don't find out who leaked the information right now, we will have to put the blame on someone else." She asks Jia Shang, "What do you say about this?" He says, "I think we should follow the regular procedure." Then we see Xiang. She tells Sui, Jia Shang has said that you should not come to the office today. Stay at home." She sees the news of the formula leak on her phone, so she immediately gets ready to go to the Li group. Xiang tries to stop her a lot, but she says Zheng He wants to protect her, so she also wants to protect him. So Xiang says, "Okay, you go, but I'll also go with you." Then we see Gao Mu. Sui calls him and asks, "You said that you were only going to make a copy of the formula. Why did you create trouble with its preservative? Give me an answer for this." Gao Mu says, "I don't have time to answer you. In the business world, this is called taking advantage. Besides, what proof do you have to blame me?" Then he cuts the call. Then we see Zheng He, who comes to meet Jia Shang's grandpa. He shows them a video in which it was clearly visible that Sui had stolen their formula's information. He asks Zheng He to publish that video, but Zheng He says Sui has stolen the information. But Jia Shang has also helped her in this, and he has also asked me to delete this video. The personal in charge of the formula has also been interrogated. I will not tell anyone about this, but not everyone's mouth can be shut. I just came to tell you this. Grandpa says, "You mean to say that I should end this matter within the Li group?" Zheng He says, "If Sui gets caught in this matter, then Jia Shang will also get caught with her. But Jia Shang's presence is very important for the Li group, so you should stop looking for a spy." Grandpa says, "Don't you think that it's Sui's fault in this? And she had also met your dad several times. But Jia Shang is crazy about her. If she asks him to set the Li group on fire, he will do that too." Hearing about Sui meeting his dad, Zheng He also gets very angry. Then he leaves from there. He meets Xiang outside. Zheng He asks her, "Do you know who leaked this formula?" At this, Xiang gets very nervous and says, "She has her own problems." Zheng He says, "You know Jia Shang is protecting her, and you are also protecting her. You are my fiancé, then why are you not supporting me?" Xiang says, "A lot of wrong has already happened with her. Her dad was not wrong, yet he was blamed." Sui, standing a little away, was also listening to all this. There is a lot of argument between the two of them regarding Sui, and they also have a fight. Then Zheng He leaves from there. When Sui comes to the Li group, she meets Zheng He there. He tells her, "You explained to Jia Shang. To save you, he is going to resign from the post of CEO." Hearing this, she comes to Jia Shang and convinces him not to resign and leaves the Li group herself. At this, Jia Shang gets very sad. He is looking at something on his phone and says to himself, "I cry even over small things because I can't share them with anyone. The greatest sorrow in the world is when love ends." Then we see Suyi, who puts the gift given by Li Jia in a box. She was also looking very upset. Here, Jung-hoo was putting away some of his dad's documents. Just then, he finds some pages lying on the floor. He picks them up and starts reading. It was a letter written by his father, in which he had written, "My son, for so long, no matter how people see me, but I find myself in great regret. The mistake I made will always be with me. I can't separate it from myself. But you are my pride. In the darkness of my past, I only had your support. One day when I am gone, then I want you not to be sad. And only then will I find peace. You have to live a good and full life." After reading that letter, he puts his head there and starts crying. The next morning, Suyi comes to Li Jiashang's office and says, "You called me here to talk to me. Tell me, what is the matter?" Li Jiashang says, "Don't talk to me with such formality. I am not used to it." Suyi says, "No problem. You'll get used to it." Then she starts telling a lot about the product. At this, Li Jiashang says, "Don't you have anything else to talk about besides work? If you are not feeling well, then you can take a leave for 2 days." Suyi says, "If anyone needs leave, it's you, sir." Li Jiashang says, "Are you worried about me?" Suyi says, "Yes, of course. Don't employees worry about their boss?" Then she says, "The Li group needs you. And come on, it's time for the meeting." Then she leaves from there. Then we see all those friends together. Xiang was telling them, "If this was not about Li Jiashang and Suyi, I wouldn't even have tried to understand. Both of them are not wrong. Neither of them has problems, but this is their biggest problem. But we can't back down." Shi Yang says, "I feel very bad seeing my sister in such a condition." Then they make a plan to reunite the two of them. Suyi comes to meet Ding Han. She was looking very upset. Seeing her, Ding Han asks her, "Have you broken up?" At this, she doesn't say anything, and then she makes him listen to her father's voice recording. Hearing that, Ding Han says, "This is impossible. I met the police handling the case. Your father's phone was with them." Suyi asks, "So did you find anything on the phone?" He says, "No, that phone was destroyed." Suyi says, "This means that the recording could be fake, but the voice in that recording was my dad's, and it also had the sound of a car crash. Maybe it's possible that someone else picked up the phone." Then they both come to Director Ju. Suyi asks them about the phone, but they don't know anything about it. They both leave from there. Suyi says, "Definitely someone picked up the phone that day. He must have wanted to erase the evidence." Then Ding Han leaves from there. After that, Suyi is coming home alone from there when someone starts following her. Just then, Li Jiashang comes there and takes her with him to the company. A meeting was going on there. An ad video for the new product of the Li Group was going to be shot, for which everyone had to go somewhere outside. Li Jiashang asks Suyi to accompany them in this work. She was not agreeable to it, but still. Suyi leaves from there in anger. Luo Manny asks Li Jiashang, "Why did you give her such a hectic job?" Li Jiashang tells her, "I did this because of Grandpa. He is following Suyi. He knows something, and I have given her this work for her protection. If she stays with you, I won't be worried." Then Li Jiashang goes to meet his grandpa. Just then, he gets a call from Xiang. She tells him, "Zheng He has found out everything, that Suyi suspected his father. What will we do now?" Li Jiashang cuts her call. Then we see all the members of the Li Group at a beach site. Their new product's ad video was being shot there. Suyi was sitting there when Zheng He comes to her, and holding her hand, he pulls her to a side and says to her very angrily, "You used to meet my dad. Why didn't you tell me this?" Suyi says, "I didn't want to hide it, but I was not sure what exactly had happened." Zheng He says, "I absolutely cannot tolerate this. You told me that you are my family, and yet you lied to me. Do you think I will believe everything you say? Do you think I am a fool? If you wanted to know something about my dad, you could have asked me. Why didn't you ask me? Tell me, or don't you trust me?" Suyi says, "I just couldn't understand how to tell you all this. I regret it a lot. I never wanted to hurt anyone." Zheng He says, "If that's the case, then go to the police and tell them everything you know." Zheng He holds her hand and starts taking her away from there, but then Li Jiashang comes there and tells Suyi to leave, and then starts talking to Zheng He. Li Jiashang explains, "It was my decision to hide this from you. Your dad's involvement in the car accident would have hurt you." Zheng He says, "What do you think? By hiding all this from me, you haven't hurt me?" Li Jiashang says, "It's our fault. But remember one thing, your dad was not harmed because of Suyi. She wanted to tell you this, but then your dad passed away. That's why she couldn't talk to you." Zheng He says, "There was no reason to hide it from me. But you can go now. I need to be alone now." Then he stands there and starts thinking about the letter written by his dad. Here, their ad video shoot is completed, and everyone leaves from there. When Suyi returns from the hotel, she sees that Li Jiashang is standing there alone. She asks him, "Where did everyone go and why are you here alone?" He tells her, "Everyone has gone back, but there was no space in the car, so he stayed here." Suyi asks him, "Is Zheng He okay now?" Li Jiashang says, "He is my friend. I will handle him. You don't worry about him. And come on, we should also leave from here now." They both leave from there together. But on the way, Suyi has some other work, so she gets down from there and takes a taxi. And and comes to everyone at the hotel. It was nighttime, but Jia Shang had not returned to the hotel yet, so everyone starts to worry about him, and Sui goes out to look for him. Just then, on the way, Sui's car's tire gets punctured. She stops there and is looking at the tire when she looks ahead, and there is Jia Shang's car parked. She comes near the car and looks, but there was no one inside. She starts searching for Jia Shang in that place, calling his name. She thinks of calling Jia Shang, but when she takes out her phone, neither does her phone have battery, nor is there any signal in that place. She thinks, why is my luck so bad? She again starts searching for Jia Shang there with a flashlight. In the hotel, Zheng He is very worried about Jia Shang. Sui had been searching for Jia Shang for a long time. Even after a lot of effort, when she can't find him, she sits there and starts crying. Just then, Jia Shang comes there. Sui is very happy to see him and quickly hugs him, and then kisses him too. Then, crying, she scolds him and says, "Where did you go?" Jia Shang says with a smile, "Look at this. Just now, you were kissing me with so much love, and now you've turned like a page of a book so quickly." Sui sees that he has an injury on his leg. She asks about it, and he explains, "I was picking some berries. That's when I got this injury." Then, he gives her the berries to taste. Sui says, "I don't think we'll be able to return to the hotel today, because both of our cars are broken down." To survive in the jungle that night, Sui builds a small hut there. Then she cleans the wound on Jia Shang's leg. Then Sui asks to light a fire there. But Jia Shang says, "No, I am afraid of fire." Sui says, "Yes, I am also afraid of the dark, and she will light a fire today." But Jia Shang says, "No, I am more afraid of fire, so you will not light a fire." Sui lights a fire, but Jia Shang extinguishes it, and then he lights small lights in the hut. Sui says, "These lights are not enough, and I am also feeling cold." Jia Shang says, "Then you can take my coat." Then Sui says, "I am also hungry. I want to light a fire and cook and eat fish in it." He says, "Now where will we get fish at this time of night? They must all be asleep." Sui says, "No, fish stay awake late at night." Jia Shang says, "Will you keep fighting with me like this? Is this your plan?" Sui says, "No." Then she lights the fire again. But Jia Shang closes his eyes, and just then it also starts to rain. Jia Shang says, "See, even God wants this. You shouldn't bother me." Then they both go inside that hut and sit. Jia Shang says, "It would have been better if we were in the car." Sui says, "The car is quite far, and you also have an injury on your leg. So will I carry you in my arms?" Jia Shang says, "Yes, that's right." Sui asks, "What would you have done if I hadn't come here?" Jia Shang says, "I would have drowned in my pain." "What else? And when you can't stay away from me, why do you break up with me? On top of that, you also shed so many tears for me." Then, Jia Shang holds her hand and kisses her. Zheng He is very worried about them. So Luo Mani comes to him and says, "Don't worry so much. They haven't disappeared anywhere. The island is so big, they must have gotten lost somewhere. They will come back by morning." The next morning, when Sui and Jia Shang wake up, they both happily stand there and watch the sunrise. Jia Shang says to her, "You look so beautiful even without washing your face." They both are also very hungry and thirsty there. Sui says, "If no one comes to find us here, what will we do? Do you have any idea?" Jia Shang says, "Then it will be good. Then we won't have to worry about anything. Here it will be just me and you. I will enjoy staying here a lot." Just then, Sui hears the sound of a car coming, and they both run towards them. In the next scene, we see that they have also come to the hotel. Luo Mani says to them, "What kind of state have you made of yourselves? It looks like you two are coming back from some reality show. And how did you get this injury?" Jia Shang says, "I will tell you everything now." Then he comes to Zheng He and says, "Were you waiting for me?" He says, "No, but it's good that you came." After saying this, he leaves from there. Then they all come inside. Xiang treats Jia Shang's leg. Sui has some work, so she leaves from there. Just then, Jia Shang says to Xiang, "I need your help. Actually, I don't have any injury on my leg, but since I have been pretending to have this injury, Sui has been listening to everything I say. So please don't let her know the truth." At this, Xiang agrees. Then Sui cooks for him, and he was sitting behind and giving her orders. But because he was injured, Sui was listening to everything he said. Then they both sit down for lunch. Sui starts eating, but Jia Shang is sitting like that. Sui says to him, "Why are you not eating anything?" Jia Shang says, "You didn't feed me. You know my whole body is aching." Then Sui feeds him with her own hands. So he says, "No, I don't feel like eating anything now." But he was just being very dramatic. Then Sui says, "I am going to my home now." So Jia Shang also quickly stands up and says, "I am also coming." Just then he realizes that he has made a mistake by standing up. So he again sits down pretending and says, "It's hurting a lot. I think my leg is fractured again. You stay here for a little longer to take care of me." Sui says, "Okay, I'll go home and get my suitcase." Jia Shang says, "My secretary is there for that. You don't go. She will bring it." Sui had understood his drama. She says, "Okay," and then goes close to him and says, "Now I should take good care of you." Then she makes Li Jiashang lie down on his stomach and starts massaging his body. Li Jiashang says, "You don't need to do all this to take care of me." Suyi says, "Until you are completely fine, I will take care of you like this." Li Jiashang says, "No, that's enough now. I made a mistake. I made a very big mistake." Suyi says while pressing his shoulder, "No, a good job should be done very well. You said your whole body is aching, so I'll give you a massage." Li Jiashang says, "No, there's no need for that now. I am completely fine now." Suyi says, "Okay, so tell me what happened to you." Li Jiashang says, "I was just pretending today. But the wound on my leg was real. Won't you take care of me for that?" Suyi says, "Yes, why not? If that's the case, then you go and rest." The next day, Li Jiashang is attending a meeting in his office when Gao Mu comes there. Li Jiashang says to him, "I think you have come to the wrong place." Gao Mu says, "I have got some shares which have made me the new director of the Li Group." Li Jiashang says, "No problem. We have to follow the market rules." Then he comes to his grandpa and tells him about Gao Mu, that our company has been affected a lot because of him. Li Jiashang says, "I know that some of our relatives have our shares, but I don't know how Gao Mu has more shares than me. You give me your voting rights. I can solve the situation." But his grandpa does not agree to this and says, "Look, don't involve me in these things." Then Li Jiashang gets up and leaves from there. Grandpa calls Gao Mu and says, "Don't touch the things that are not yours." He cuts their call without replying. Zheng He and Li Jiashang are coming back home together when Zheng He gets a message from Xiang. She calls him to a hotel. They both go together. Just then, Xiang welcomes Zheng He into the room in a very romantic way. Seeing this, Li Jiashang gets very nervous. So Zheng He says to him, "Don't look. You go from here." After sending him away, he comes into the room and says, "How much I have been worried, and what are you doing all this?" Xiang says, "I just wanted to surprise you." Zheng He says, "You don't need to do all this, but you are looking very good today." Then we see Suyi and Li Jiashang together. Li Jiashang had told her about Xiang, and then he asks her, "When am I going to get this kind of surprise?" Ignoring him, Suyi makes him listen to her dad's recording and tells that Gao Mu had given her this recording. Suyi says, "The person I have suspected in this recording, I think it is your grandpa." Li Jiashang says, "After your father passed away, the Limo Research Institute was closed down, and Gao Mu was kicked out of the house by my grandpa. Before that, he used to be a member of our family, so I don't think my grandpa has any hand in this." Suyi says, "According to your words, Gao Mu is hiding something." Li Jiashang holds her hand and says, "Don't worry. Whatever the truth is, I will get justice for your dad and you." Then, at night, Li Jiashang and Suyi are sitting together. Li Jiashang says to her, "Do you know why I am afraid of fire? When I was 5 years old, I was sleeping in the afternoon. Suddenly, I woke up due to a lot of smoke, and I opened the door. There was a fire there. I tried a lot to call my father. I also tried to get out of there, but I failed. I couldn't get out. I fainted right there. After that, when I opened my eyes, I found out that I was on a hospital bed. People who have suffered in the dark to see the light have a lot of trouble moving forward." After saying this, he becomes silent. Suyi was silently listening to him. Then she holds his hand and says, "Whatever happens in life, it's not always our fault. We deserve a good life." Li Jiashang lovingly kisses her on the forehead. In the morning, when Zheng He is sitting alone, Luomani and Zheng He come to him. Luomani says to him, "I drank 3 whole bottles of wine." Zheng He says, "You must have never spoken such bad words in your life." Li Jiashang says, "Are you shocked?" Just then, Suyi comes and sits there. Li Jiashang asks her, "How are you?" Suyi looks at him and gives a sweet smile, to which he also smiles. Then Suyi tells him, "Many directors are ready to give us their shares, lest they go back on their word. Let's take an agreement and deposit it." Li Jiashang says, "I have 30% of the company's shares." Hearing this, Luomani says, "We should celebrate on this." Li Jiashang says, "This is not the right time." Then Suyi calls everyone to her house, all the people she knew until now. Suyi says to them, "Everyone here is my friend or relative. I welcome you all, and I want to apologize to everyone. I have hidden something from all of you. That's why I hope that you all will understand me and forgive me." Then she starts speaking about her information. In August 2014, Mu Feng, an employee of the Limo Research Institute, had a car accident. His daughter Mu Xiao was also involved in the car accident. That's me. After the car accident, I lost my memory. I completed my college in Japan, and then I got the Fame Show magazine of 2014. To clarify which, I came back to China. Since then, I have been getting clues, until the death of Zheng He's dad. Just then, Zheng He says, "The decision of my dad's death has been made. You don't need to tell. Please don't get involved in this." Then he stands up and says, "If you don't want to live your life peacefully, then fine. But if there is any secret, it's a private matter. Mind your business." At this, Li Jiashang stands up and says to him, "We are all sad about your dad's passing. But if you think so, then it's your wish." Just then, Luomani stands up and stops Li Jiashang, and Xiang stops Zheng He. Zheng He holds Xiang's hand and takes her away from there. Luo Mani says to Li Jia Shang, "What are you doing?" Zheng He had brought her from there. On the way, he says to her, "If you want to go back, I can drop you." Jiang says, "If you do that, everyone will be worried, right?" Just then, Zheng He stops the car right there and looks at Xiang angrily. At this, she says to him, "I can go home myself," and gets out of the car and sits in another car parked there. The scene returns to Li Jia house. Luo Mani says, "I think this paper can be very dangerous." Su Yi says, "I know, that's why I won't force it." Luo Mani says, "Whatever happens, I am with you." A lady sitting there also says that she is with Su Yi. Just then, Director Ju says, "At first I felt there was a danger in this, but now my perspective on this has changed." After that, Ding Han says, "To be honest, I never wanted to get into these things. But now that I have crossed half the way, there is no point in going back." Su Yi is very happy and stands up and says, "Thank you to everyone." Then the next, Li Jia is telling someone on the phone, "If you want to get this budget's project signed by me, then first go and find Gao Mu, and if he is not there, then wait." Just then, Su Yi comes there and says, "The Public Relations Department has said that the client's budget has not been approved yet." Li Jia asks, "Is Zheng He still adamant?" Su Yi says, "Don't be angry. His mood is not good right now." Li Jia says irritably, "Mood is not good. Is this also an excuse? And yesterday, you were saying that I said too much to him, and I should go and apologize to him." The next day, when Li Jia is doing some work, Luo Mani comes there. So Li Jia says to her, "Can't you knock and come in? Learn something from Su Yi." She says, "Am I like Su Yi?" Then she explains, "You can make me the CEO's assistant, but I have one condition." Li Jia asks, "And what is that?" She explains, "I have to do a team building. For 2 days and 1 night, there is a hot resort a little far from here. I will confirm it for them." He says, "Okay, do whatever you want to do." Just then, Sui comes there and tells Li Jia, "People's opinion about the formula has improved. Sales have also increased, and the share price has also increased." At this, Li Jia says, "If Zheng He goes there, I will not go." Suyi says, "You won't have a problem with him." Just then, she sees a pen in his hand and says, "Zheng He gifted you this pen, didn't he?" Hearing this, Li Jia puts down the pen. Then Li Jia and Suyi get ready to go somewhere. In the next scene, we see Suyi and Xiang together. Xiang was repeatedly typing some message for Zheng He on her phone, but Suyi takes the phone from her hand and types some other message and sends it, and says to Xiang, "You shouldn't lose your self-respect." Then, Suyi tells her, "Luo Mani had said that we are all going for a team meeting this week, so will you come there?" Xiang says, "I am not in the mood." Suyi says, "Li is also not ready to come, and I think that Zheng He will also not go." At this, Xiang makes a face and says, "What do I know about him? He knows his own business." Suyi says, "Are you really ruining your relationship? You should handle the situations." Then we see all of them at a beach, where they had come for a team meeting. But Zheng He was not there. Xiang takes a group photo of everyone, and then sends a photo to Zheng He, in which blood was coming out of her leg. But that photo was not hers. When Zheng He sees that photo, he gets very worried. Xiang is sitting comfortably and using her phone. Just then, Zheng He comes there. He was very worried because he thought that Xiang's leg was injured. He says to her, "If I am not with you, can't you take care of yourself? What have you done?" And when he sees her leg, it is not injured. Seeing this, he gets angry and starts to leave. But Xiang grabs him and makes him sit there and says, "I missed you a lot." Zheng He says, "Okay, but don't lie like this again." Xiang says, "You haven't even called me for a long time. Didn't you miss me?" Zheng He says, "I did send you a thumbs up." At this, Xiang says, "Will you always keep doing this?" Then, Xiang says, "Let's take a hot water bath together." But when Zheng He is going for the bath, Xiang says, "You go first. I'll put on a face mask and come." Zheng He asks, "Is there anyone else there?" At this, she says, "No, it's just the two of us here." But when Zheng He reaches there, he finds Li Jia there. Seeing him, he starts to return, but outside, all their friends are standing with the door locked, because they all wanted these two to talk to each other and end their anger. Then when the door doesn't open, Zheng He comes and sits next to Li Jia. They both were sitting and heating the water, which was already quite hot. But Zheng He says, "This is not hot at all." At this, Li Jia says, "Yes, I also don't feel it's hot." After a while, they both come out from there. Zheng He comes and says to Xiang, "You lied to me." At this, she says, "No, I didn't lie. I was just about to come, but I couldn't find my facial mask." Zheng He says, "You are lying to me again." At this, she says, "You also lie to me, right? Who were you calling behind my back just now?" So he says, "I was calling a girl, a beautiful girl, who is very beautiful." At this, Xiang gets angry. Then Zheng He convinces her that he was just joking. After finishing the meeting, Li Jia and Suyi are returning from there together. Li Jia says, "I wish these days were even longer. It would have been more fun." Over there, Zheng He was also saying the same thing. Then Li Jia and Suyi come to a restaurant for dinner. Li Jia explains, "After this, I have to go to a meeting." Su-yi says, I also have to go to pick up Xiang. She didn't explain properly. I'll talk to you after picking her up. Jia Shang is looking at her very intently. At this, she says, why are you looking at me like that? Are you keeping an eye on your girlfriend? At this, Jia Shang says, you have finally learned to share things with me. Then Sui comes to meet Xiang. She says, my mood is not good today. Sui says, why, what happened? Are you pregnant? At this, Xiang says, how did you know? At this, Sui is completely shocked because she had just said this casually. She didn't know that she would actually be pregnant. But when she finds out that Xiang is really pregnant, she gets angry with her and says, how can you be so careless? You should have been careful. She asks her, does Jung-hoo know about this? Xiang says, I don't want to tell him right now. Sui says, what exactly has happened between you two? And he is the father of this child. He should know about this. I think you two should think about marriage. Xiang says, I saw him contacting his ex-girlfriend. Sui says, whoever it is, you should tell Jung-hee about this. And if you don't tell him, I will. After this, Xiang comes to Jung-hee and puts some reporters in front of him. Jung-hee says to her, can you please massage my shoulder? Xiang says, okay, your wish is my command. Then she starts giving him a shoulder massage. Jung-hee says, you are very good. Would you like to marry me? At this, Xiang says, I am already pregnant. Jung-hee says, then it's even better. Let's get married and get the certificate. Sui asks, do you really want to marry me? Jung-hee says, yes, absolutely. We will truly be responsible parents. But then Xiang thinks that maybe Jung-hoo is only marrying her because of the children. So she lies that she is not pregnant. She is just joking. Then she asks him, is everything not okay between you and Jia Shang? Jung-hee says, things are not as simple as they seem. Then we see Jia Shang, who was sitting in his house. Just then, Sui comes there and rests her head on his shoulder and lies down. Jia Shang asks, what happened? Have you been drinking? Then he tells Su-yi, don't drink from now on. Su-yi doesn't listen, so he says, why don't you beautiful girls listen to others? Then Su-yi gets angry and leaves from there. Jia Shang comes to the kitchen and starts drinking. After a while, Sui comes and asks, couldn't you sleep? Jia Shang asks her, are you okay now? Sui says, yes. The intoxication has worn off now, but I can't sleep. Jia Shang says, I can't sleep. And you can't sleep either. He lifts her up in his arms and sits her down in front of him and starts kissing her. And this is where this drama ends.